Imagine a picture-perfect wedding day shattered by blaring sirens. All because one nosy HOA enforcer decided your happily ever after was a threat to community standards. But what if that meddling busybody's power trip ended with her in handcuffs? Exposing a web of fraud that turned her own neighbors against her? In the sleepy suburb of Willow Creek, Ohio, where manicured lawns had simmering resentments, Alex Thompson had finally carved out his slice of the American dream. At 38, after years grinding in corporate real estate, he'd sunk his life savings into transforming an old Victorian estate into evergreen gardens, a charming outdoor event space specializing in weddings and gatherings. The property sat on the edge of the Westfield Heights neighborhood, technically zoned commercial. But that didn't stop the whispers from starting the moment he hung his shingle. Who's this outsider thinking he can turn our quiet corner into party central? The gossips muttered at block parties. Alex ignored it, focusing on his fiancée, Mia, and their upcoming nuptials right there under the estate's ancient oaks. They'd invited 80 guests, secured all the permits, and even coordinated with the county for traffic control. Everything was set for a flawless day, until Karen showed up. Karen Whitaker, the HOA vice president, was the epitome of suburban authority, mid-50s. Perfectly coiffed bob, and a perpetual smile that never reached her eyes. She patrolled the streets in her golf cart like a self-appointed sheriff, clipboard in hand, enforcing rules that seemed to multiply overnight. It's all for the greater good, she'd coo at meetings, her voice dripping with faux concern. We must maintain property values, or we'll all suffer. But behind the scenes, she relished the fine she slapped on violators, a kid's basketball hoop here, a too bright porch light there. Alex had heard the rumors. She'd once fined a widow for unsightly mourning wreaths after her husband's funeral. Still, he figured as long as he stayed off her radar, he'd be fine. The rehearsal dinner was in full swing that Friday evening, laughter echoing across the lawn as guests mingled with champagne flutes. Alex was adjusting the floral arch when Karen materialized at the fence line, her face flushed under the setting sun. "This is unacceptable," she barked, thrusting her clipboard through the slats like a spear. "You're disturbing the peace with all this revelry. HOA bylaws clearly state no commercial activities within view of residential properties." Alex approached calmly, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Karen, right? This isn't HOA land. We're zoned separately. I've got the docs if you want to see." She waved him off with a manicured hand. "Irrelevant. Your guests are spilling onto our streets. And that music? It's practically a rave. I've already noted violations under Section 12C, excessive merriment." Mia, overhearing, stifled a laugh but shot Alex a worried glance. "Merriment? It's a string quartet. Not Coachella," Alex replied evenly. Karen's eyes narrowed. "Laugh now, Mr. Thompson. But mark my words. If this farce of a wedding proceeds, I'll ensure the authorities handle it." She stormed off, her heels clicking indignantly on the pavement. Alex shook it off as empty bluster. But the next morning, as the ceremony began under clear blue skies, the sirens wailed. 2 police cruisers rolled up, lights flashing, sending a hush over the assembled crowd. Karen stood triumphantly at the property edge, arms crossed, her smug grin visible even from afar. "See? I told you," she mouthed silently. An officer approached Alex mid-vows. "Sir, we've got a complaint about an illegal assembly and noise pollution." Alex handed over the stack of permits without missing a beat. "Everything's above board, officer. This is my business." And she's got no say. The cop reviewed the papers. Then turned to Karen. Ma'am. This property isn't under your HOA. You're causing a disturbance yourself. Her face twisted from confidence to confusion. But. Property values. The bylaws. The officer sighed. Step back. Or we'll cite you for trespassing. As they escorted her away. A few guests chuckled. One uncle muttering. Bye. Felicia. Karen's parting glare promised war. But Alex just exchanged rings with Mia. The crowd erupting in cheers that drowned out her retreating footsteps. For a blissful week post-honeymoon in the Smoky Mountains. Life at Evergreen Gardens hummed along. Bookings poured in, a sweet 16. A corporate retreat, and Alex hired a small crew to handle the upkeep. Then the mail brought a bombshell, a notice from the county zoning board about an urgent investigation into unlicensed operations. Backed by anonymous evidence of violations. Alex's stomach dropped. At the office. The clerk, a no-nonsense guy named Dale, showed him the file, sneaky photos of the wedding setup. Snapped from bushes and high angles. Complete with timestamps and snarky annotations like obvious commercial overreach. Who submitted this? Alex asked. Voice tight. Dale hesitated. The Westfield Heights HOA. Signed by Vice President Whitaker. She claims it's a blight on the community. Mia. Poring over the images later that night. Slammed the folder down. She's stalking us. Look at this angle, that's from someone's roof. Alex nodded grimly. She's not just petty, she's playing dirty. But two can play. He fired up his laptop. Diving into public records. The HOA's filings revealed oddities, a $12,000 transfer to compliance enhancement with no board approval. Buried in vague minutes. This smells like a slush fund, he muttered. Whispers spread through the neighborhood faster than Karen's golf cart. At the local diner. Alex overheard residents griping, she's fining me for my bird feeder now, says it attracts vermin. He kept quiet. But inside. His plan brewed. His buddy, a lawyer named Jake, reviewed the docs. If she's using HOA cash for this vendetta, it's embezzlement. Let's request all their emails. Meanwhile, Alex upgraded security with hidden cams. Sure enough. Late one night. His phone buzzed, motion detected. Peering at the feed. He saw Karen sneaking along the fence. Flashlight bobbing. Snapping pics of the empty pavilion. Gotcha, he whispered. Dialing 911. Deputies caught her red-handed. Her car stuffed with dossiers on Evergreen, guest lists. Even kids' names circled. This is for safety, she sputtered as they cuffed her. He's ruining our way of life. The cop rolled his eyes. Ma'am. You're the one lurking in bushes at midnight. The arrest cracked the facade. The zoning probe intensified. But now on the HOA. Investigators uncovered forged signatures on complaints, one from a deceased resident. Endorsing Karen's crusade. Felony fraud, Jake grinned over coffee. She's toast. Alex attended the emergency HOA meeting uninvited. Slipping in the back as residents murmured. Karen. Bailed out and defiant. Stood at the podium. This is a witch hunt. I'm protecting us from outsiders like him. But the president, a timid accountant named Phil, cleared his throat. Karen. We've seen the emails. You rerouted funds without a vote, for a PI. Forged docs. Her face went from smug to scarlet. It was necessary. Property values, a burly neighbor interrupted. You find my kid for chalk drawings. Necessary my ass. Laughter rippled. Bitter and sharp. Karen stammered. "You're all ungrateful," but the vote was swift, ousted. With calls for audits. As she stormed out, someone quipped, "Don't forget your clipboard, might need it in court." The scandal snowballed. Local news picked it up. HOA vice president's reign of terror ends in arrests. More victims emerged, a single dad fined for a trampoline. An elderly couple harassed over holiday lights. Jake filed a class action suit. And the DA dug deeper. Emails revealed a conspiracy, Karen and two bored cronies plotting to neutralize threats like Evergreen. Using dues for surveillance. "Let's bury him in bureaucracy," one read. The treasurer. Sweating in depositions. Cracked first, she said it was for the community. Court day was a circus. Alex testified calmly. Footage playing, Karen's midnight creep. Her panicked scramble when lights hit. The judge's gavel fell hard, felony charges for fraud. Misdemeanors for trespass. Karen's plea deal? Probation. Restitution. And a ban from HOAs. Her accomplices faced fines, the board dissolved. Residents. Freed from the tyranny. Formed a casual co-op, no fines. Just potlucks and votes. Evergreen boomed. Bookings doubling as the venue that beat the bully. Months later, Alex and Mia hosted a free neighborhood bash at the gardens. Laughter filled the air. Kids chasing fireflies. While old foes shared beers. Phil approached sheepishly. "We let her run wild too long." "Thanks for exposing it." Alex shrugged. "Wasn't just me. You all stood up." As the sun set, Mia whispered, "Think she learned anything?" Alex chuckled darkly. "Doubt it. But hey, her new condo probably has its own Karen, karma's a bitch." The co-op thrived. Transparent and light. A far cry from the suffocating rules of old. Evergreen wasn't just a business anymore, it was a beacon. Proof that patience and smarts could topple even the most entrenched tyrant. But here's the question that lingers, was Karen the real villain? Or just a product of a system that lets petty power corrupt everyday folks? Could any of us become her if we held a clipboard?